Most recently, we ran a set of tests looking at the ability of sprinklers to handle e-bike fires.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. I took a quick 3-week break from posting anything. In that time, I went to the NFPA convention in Las Vegas and helped a couple buddies out with an event called Border Fest here in Sarnia, Ontario. I still have NFPA mugs. They're going to be coming in with another giveaway soon. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to start posting videos that I recorded from the NFPA conference live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So stay tuned. Thanks everybody for the support. www.firesprinklerpodcast.com. Help start rolling in donations for the Laying Down for Camp Bucko fundraiser I'm doing. Check out the website for more information. Here we go.
Subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. I'm Chris Logan. I've got Steve Kerber here. Steve is with UL, the UL Fire Safety Research
Institute. FSRI.
So close. But Steve's with the Fire Safety Research Institute, and we're going to talk a little bit about what UL has been doing to kind of make this world a better, a safer place. We're at the NFPA. In case you can't hear that in the background, we're at the NFPA convention. What do you think of the event so far?
That's been great. Lots of great educational sessions, and it looks like the exhibit hall is absolutely buzzing.
Absolutely. It's crazy the amount of people. Boston was good. Vegas is substantially better. Almost 400 exhibitors here at the exhibit hall this year.
Yeah.
I was talking with the guys from NFPA, and they're super pumped that everybody is coming back, and it's good to say that the expo is back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I heard 85 new exhibitors.
Yeah,
so that's huge.
Big.
Yeah.
It was nice last year. It was nice, but this is like home. Welcome back.
Absolutely.
Right. So tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do with UL.
Sure. So I'm the executive director of UL's Fire Safety Research Institute.
Okay.
We're one of the research institutes that make up UL Research Institutes.
Okay.
We're the largest of the institutes, rapidly growing. And really our mission is to take on all of the existing and emerging fire safety hazards, conduct research, and make the world a safer place.
So does that include things like full-scale flows, full-scale fire, sprinkler testing, stuff like that?
So we've essentially carved out a space for ourselves. I mean, we predominantly do full-scale research.
Awesome.
So we've done a lot of work over the last 20 years, in my case, of trying to make the fire service safer.
Yeah.
So everything from burning buildings in New York City to Chicago. We've got a great lab in the Chicago area.
Yep.
Where we can build houses in there, we can burn the houses.
Yep.
And then we've got a great facility out by Philadelphia where we actually have a small neighborhood built. So we're looking at everything from search and rescue tactics to structure fire spread because of wildland-urban interface problems. Yeah. And most recently we ran a set of tests looking at the ability of sprinklers to handle e-bike fires.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that, because I know right now the flavor of the week in fire protection is lithium-ion batteries in fires. What challenges does the industry have? Obviously the industry has challenges with lithium-ion batteries, but as far as retrofits are concerned, residential occupancies, scooters, e-bikes, things like that are being brought into homes that were not designed for lithium-ion battery fires.
Yep.
What kind of steps is UL doing to develop some sort of criteria for protecting these?
Sure. So I think this is one of the greatest challenges of our generation. You can't go to a class that it has lithium-ion battery in the title here at NFPA, and it's not standing room only in the class, because everybody wants to know, everybody wants to learn, and there's not a ton of information out there. We're playing catch up big time as an industry.
Yep.
So we've been trying to help with that catch up. A lot of our research early on was in the wake of all of the incidents happening in New York City. The questions they posed to us were, all right, we get there, we're seeing well-advanced fires, we're seeing windows blown out, we're seeing walls displaced, and we're seeing fatalities like we haven't seen before.
Right.
What's happening? What's going on before we get there?
Right.
So we took the houses that we had built that kind of replicate an apartment in New York City or a single-family house, and started sourcing scooters from the same places that they were seeing incidents with in New York City.
Okay.
So we put one in a living room, put one in a bedroom, and just overheat it, overcharge it, similar to what the incidents they saw were, and looked at the catastrophic outcomes of those fires.
So starting kind of from the ground up with what are the issues with the overcharging, with the overheating and things like that,
replicating that in your lab and then finding a way to, are you just at this point still finding out why it happens and then starting the suppression, early detection kind of phase?
Sure. So it was really trying to replicate reality first. And then as we were replicating reality, a few things stood out. One was it goes from no visible smoke, no visible odor, no visible anything, to a bedroom full of flames in less than 30 seconds.
Wow.
So early detection, I mean, what we constantly tell people of, well, you got to be warned early, you got a little bit of time to escape. That crunched that timeline down to almost nothing.
Yeah.
So then the question became, all right, well, if we've got a sprinkler building, can it handle it? So looking at 13 D flows, 13 R flows, 13 flows, and trying to get a sense of, can these keep it to the object of origin?
Right.
And I couldn't be more relieved to say, even with 13 D flows in a house, it kept the fire to the scooter. It didn't. We didn't get the same fireball that we got with no sprinklers. It was able to adequately wet the sofa or the bed that was adjacent to the scooter. There's still going to be tenability issues. I mean, there's still a ton of gases created if you're intimate with that fire. However, the outcomes were so much better than without those sprinklers, as we all know all too well.
So the name of the game for sprinkler with lithium ion is essentially to prevent spread. They're trying to get, cold out, but it's really, really hard. It's kind of let the fuel burn itself out and stop it from spreading to the next one. Is that kind of what UL is looking at from a design standpoint moving forward, as how do we cool the stuff around the hazard enough as opposed to stop the fire?
That's the biggest thing. You're not going to put out a lithium-ion battery fire.
Right.
It's just not happening. So that's another major takeaway is that if you've got batteries, they're charged, they go into thermal runaway. All you can do is cool the surrounding,
keep anything
around it, and keep it from spreading. Folks have done some great tests with rack storage and all kinds of other stuff.
The LB11.
Absolutely. So our focus was more on the residential environment or an apartment building or something like that. But I think from here, it's truly understanding that you can have a fire happen anywhere now.
Absolutely.
So the batteries come with essentially their own fire triangle, completely different than what we're used to. So you could have a fire start out here in the middle of the floor. Whereas before it would be, well, where's my competent ignition source? Where's my electrical lines? How did this start? Well, batteries could be in the middle of a robot storage system in the middle of a warehouse. And now we have fire potential there. So game changer.
Lithium ion battery in a self-retrieval.
Absolutely.
You have the perfect storm right there.
Right in the middle. You got a battery-powered toothbrush, and it's in a bin, and it was a defective battery, or it gets crushed, or whatever the case is. Totally different ballgame.
Taking things like that into consideration with how fast, you talked about how quick fires grew, 20, 30 years ago, where you had 17 minutes to get out of the fire. You take that same building construction, combine it with a lithium-ion battery, which is hot, grows fast, etc., 30 seconds to thermal runaway, and you've got a monster of a hazard.
Absolutely, and that's what New York's experienced. I mean, unfortunately, they had 4 people dying above an e-bike fire yesterday. So that makes, I think, 13 fatalities for the year.
Just this year.
Just this year. Last year at this time, they were at like 2.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's technology we need. We've got to do better on making sure we've got listed batteries, listed products. We've got to make sure that people have public education or are not storing these things in the way out of their apartment. If you've got one way out through the door and your e-bike's charging by that door,
don't do that.
You're stuck.
Yeah,
you're absolutely stuck.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the manufacturers themselves? Are they supportive in this, or are they providing you with the e-bikes, with the scooters, etc., to help you find a solution, or are they more like, we don't want to?
We're trying to do it independently, so we're going out and sourcing the different products, and we're sourcing products based on what New York City's seeing failure-wise in their incidents. A lot of the manufacturers are doing the right thing. We're not part of the certification group. They're down at the end there. But they're seeing, I think, dozens of manufacturers getting products certified to the UL standards and engagement standards that were not certified a year ago.
Right.
So they're the manufacturers that want to do the right thing are doing the right thing.
Awesome. Steve, this has been an awesome conversation about what UL is doing to help kind of stop this ongoing thing. Before we wrap up, do you think that the lithium ion kind of how big this is in the news with the lithium ion batteries, do you think it's more of it's a new product, therefore it's in the news more, or do you think it's new products come out all the time and catch fire, but it's new, it's exciting? Are you getting more of these fires because it's a new product, or is it actually inherently a more dangerous fire?
We're seeing the tip of the iceberg. The reality is that even with the best controls in place for manufacturing, there's still the potential for defects.
Yep.
There's also people involved. So these tend to go in a lot of products that can be abused or dropped or rolled down the steps or whatever the case is that can lead to failure. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this. I think there's not a single law in place that requires lithium-ion battery e-bikes and scooters to be certified and listed. It's just a suggestion.
Right.
So until it's a requirement, we're going to continue to see failures. And unfortunately, New York City's been kind of the hub because of the delivery environment they create.
Yeah.
But we're seeing these happen all over the world.
Yeah. Airlines, trains, things like that.
Big
You're
time.
seeing them in all those things.
Big time.
Awesome. Steve, again, sorry, now we can wrap it up. Thanks for your
Pleasure.
time. Thanks for talking about this.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, the Laying It Down for Camp Bucko fundraiser is still going on. The donations have slowed down, but the hoses have not. This sea can is starting to get filled up. These are the ones I just unloaded from the trailer. Those are the ones that were sitting here since last year. These are all still sitting here from last year. We're looking to get donations rolling in. In addition to those hoses that I just showed you, I still have a picture that I'm going to insert right here of all the fire hoses that are still up in Pickering, Ontario. Thank you to the Toronto Social Housing for donating 95% of these fire hoses, as well as everybody else from Southwestern Ontario and Ontario for donating hoses. But let's get those donations to roll in. The link is posted below. $20 a hose. Let's get some money in and let's support Camp Bucko. Thanks, guys.